You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 146. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving it a shot. Today's guest is a serial entrepreneur. She's better known as the PassionPreneur. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Dr. Diana S. Gray. Dr. Gray, how's it going?
Oh, it's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time to chop it up on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's an honor.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, here to talk about all the great things you have going on in business with DSG Business Consulting, Montgomery Arts Academy, as well as Passionpreneur. But before we talk about all the great things you have going on in business, let's get to know the woman behind it all. Born and raised in Montgomery, what was your upbringing like coming up in the Gump?
Oh, wow. It was a great upbringing. My father is a pastor, so I was a preacher's kid. My mom was a teacher, and so yeah, all about serving the community. I was taught how to do that, and think less of self and more of others. Child life was pretty great. Exposed to various things, not just church, but well-rounded with school. I attended the magnet schools, Forest Avenue, Baldwin Academic Magnet, and then I went to Lanier and transferred to BTW Magnet when it opened. So I graduated from there and got a chance to travel a lot. I stayed here and attended Huntington College for undergrad. So yeah, with my music education studies, I was able to travel a lot and perform near and far. So Montgomery has been good to me.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your background. So dad
Yeah.
was a pastor, mom was an educator. So two things I know for sure. You were in church a lot growing up, and
Yeah,
when it came to the education, mom did not play about them grades. That's one thing, two things I know for sure.
that is right. That is right. They weren't really that strict. The thing was, when it comes to education, they want to make sure you learn. So if you got that C or even that D in a class, it's the fact that you learned something. It was all about the learning experience. So it wasn't a household where, you got to make all A's and be on honor roll all the time. And they always provided for me and my brother.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. That's the most important thing, Dr. Gray, getting a chance to learn something. And like you said, whether it's a C, a B, or A, that's great that your parents just instilled the aspect
Yeah.
of learning something and coming away from a class, learning something. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So overall, it just sounds like your upbringing, you had a great village around you.
Awesome village. Yes, still is. Yes.
Definitely takes a village, and that's great that you were able to grow up in Montgomery and get a chance to get exposed to the magnet school system. So you ended up
Mhm.
graduating from BTW, go on to attend
Yeah.
Huntington College. What was that college life experience like at Huntington?
Oh, it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. Very small liberal arts college at that time. It was only 600 students. So it was like a high school population. But I had one-on-one with my one-on-one relationships with my professors and everyone on the campus, all the adults. It was very nurturing. And I must say, I'm an active alumnus and serve on the alumni, alumni association as the vice president and incoming president. Next year, be the first Black at that, African American female, and will soon be the first African American trustee on the with Huntington College. So those relationships were lifetime relationships that were established. And it's just amazing.
That's amazing, Dr. Gray. So you about to make some history over there at Huntington. I
Yeah.
love to hear it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is powerful stuff. You said something key there, just hearing you talk about your journey at Huntington. It was a small knit community, and it was just like sounded like it's just an extended family, just an extension of your family.
Yes, yes, it is, and it still is,
Right.
Yeah, Huntington was really good to me. It exposed me to a lot of things in life. It encouraged me to continue my education after Huntington College. I got 5 graduate degrees since then, and my first global travel or international travel experience came from Huntington College. So yes, I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And I definitely can attest just to the college life. I went to ASU, but I'm pretty sure at Huntington you had similar experiences. You met people from all over the world, the East Coast, West Coast, the South, and you all just came together and just created those lifelong memories. That what it sounds like to me.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yes, ma'am. So you're going to get your bachelor's from Huntington and go on and get your 5 graduate degrees, overachieving, getting the education, crushing the game. I love to hear it, Dr. Gray. I got my MBA and I retired from education at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Ma'am. So after you finish up your education, got your degrees, high degrees, rocking and rolling. So
Mhm.
before we talk about all your different business ventures, let's talk
Mhm.
about just that chapter prior to going into business. Did you go right into entrepreneurship out of college or did you work a 9 to 5?
Well, to be honest, I started my entrepreneurship while I was lifestyle since I started it in the junior in high school at BTW Magnet. My mom was a school teacher teaching English in Ottawa County. And one day she came home and she said, I have 7 piano students for you, and you will begin teaching them. And that's how I started.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, yeah, and it was great. That was my job in high school. Of course, I was always a piano player in church since a child, since 8 years old. So church was a job, a form of work for me, and of course, teaching piano, then voice lessons, and I carried that over into my undergraduate years of study and influenced my other piano major friends to do the same. So we started an academy at Huntington College, and many of us are still teaching private students. Now, after graduation, of course, you want to explore getting a job. And so I had my first, I guess you could say, real job with Montgomery Public Schools. So I was a core director at what was then McKee Junior High School, is now McKee Middle School. I did that for 5 years, and then I transferred to Lanier High School and taught there for 7 years. And then I saw fit that it was the perfect timing to leave the school system in 2016 and commit to being a serial entrepreneur or a passionpreneur in 2016. So it's been 8 years since I made that big leap of faith, leaving the work field and being an entrepreneur full time.
That's an amazing story. And hats off to your mom for putting you into that entrepreneurial space at a young age. She said, hey, I got these students, they got these piano lessons. Hats off to moms. That's dope.
Yes, that's how it happened.
Yes, ma'am. That's amazing. And I was just reading up on your story and I saw the events, the things that occurred in 2016 that led you in this
Mhm.
direction. And definitely don't want to open up old wounds, but I definitely just want to commend you for having the courage to make that pivot out of that 9 to 5 world into that full-time entrepreneurship lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you even with all of that was going on with that situation, so take us to that moment when you decided that you were no longer going to hit the clock, that you were going to work for yourself moving forward.
Well, I'm just going to be real. It's my story, and of course, it takes time to heal from your those wounds. And I'm still in that process with the healing process with the help of professionals, counselors, and everything. But my mom, I must say this: my mom reminded me not too long ago. She said, how you have a plan A and a plan B. And she said it plain and simple to me. She said, you chose your plan B over plan A when you decided to work for the school system. So that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah, I guess so, But when the supervisor or your boss, just wanted to make your stay to be uncomfortable. And as I look at it, it was all about the boss not really wanting, it came off as if uh, it wasn't about serving the community and the kids and what was best. It was about, coming in, and he was a new principal at that time, and he wanted to make sure that he had his team on board. And so a lot of times when you're in the work field or in corporate America, you experience a new leader, and the new leader wants to establish his team, and I didn't make the cut. It was hurtful because I was that faithful veteran teacher. Most teachers, veteran teachers, they're stuck in their ways, and I understood the direction that he wanted to go in with the school, but I guess it wasn't good enough for him. So it seems to be more, in my experience, more of a selfish act versus what was best for the students at that time. And that's just my take on it, and how I viewed it. But that was also very important experience for me. It helped me to face my true reality of being committed to the dream of having a music academy, and really serving the masses. And it was much needed. So I don't regret that experience. It taught me a whole lot, and I'm still learning and still growing from that. I just thank God that I was able to pivot quickly and to have a plan in place. So dreaming is very powerful, but acting and moving with faith is even more powerful. It ignites the dream and put it into motion. So that has been my experience. Would I go back? No. Have I tried to pertain a job per se? Yes. And every time I fail at it, or it just wasn't destined. I mean, I've applied for, adjunct teaching professor jobs, and on the collegiate level. I've been asked to take positions just even recently, and that hasn't happened yet. So what has been really on moving and shaking is my entrepreneurship. So I believe I was born to be an entrepreneur and to serve God's people in the capacity that I'm doing now.
That's an amazing story, just hearing you talk about just what transpired and being in that environment where new leader comes in and wants their team and they wanted to make some changes, and just the fact that you were willing to step out there and take that leap of faith, like you said, and just talking
Yeah.
about faith igniting the dream. I've never heard it like that, but that's powerful. That's a powerful statement.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Being willing to take that faith, and it's so interesting here you talk about that, Dr. Gray, because
Mhm.
what I've learned as I've gotten older is I hear people say they throw around, I have faith, I have faith. But what I've learned is, and just tying it back to the good book, faith is, in simplest terms to me, faith is making the move when you don't know what's on the other side of the door. Like a lot of times people say, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I have faith, but they have all this stuff lined up. But you really took a leap of faith to say, hey, I'm gonna leave behind this safe 9 to 5 and go out here and work for
Yeah.
myself.
Right. I mean, I could have retired. I had enough years to do an early retirement. I just said, no, we're going to put in the resignation papers.
Yes.
I mean, no connection to it at all. So it was a great experience. It was so liberating. I remember after using up my leave time, I didn't leave any money at the table that for them to have. So I
Mm.
had some time and I used it up, and I spent about, I think it was $6.32 at the post office, and mailed in the letter of resignation and my keys, and it was the best $6 I've spent in my life. So
I believe it. The fact that you remember the exact amount lets me know that
yeah,
was a pretty big moment, a paramount
it was
moment
a
in
big
your
moment.
life.
It was a big moment for me. It was wonderful. It was
Yes, ma'am.
wonderful. And when I did that, that's when I became the passionpreneur.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. And even hearing you talk about how your mom was telling you your plan A and your plan B and how you you going into the workforce, you turned your back on your plan A. And yeah, it's interesting how all things work out and how this full circle moment, you're right back where you started when you was a teenager. You're a full-time entrepreneur. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It is. It is.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
read in 2006, you launched your first business, the Montgomery Arts Academy. What you got going on over there?
Oh, here we have a lot. We teach voice lessons, piano lessons, preschool music. Actually, that's how we started with the preschool music, teaching babies at 6 weeks old all the way up to age 6. We have drum lessons, guitar lessons, you name it, we have it. We also have a staff here of about four other music instructors that are highly educated and qualified to teach with their certifications through the state of Alabama. And yeah, we are rocking and shaking. Felt really good, even through some of the hardest times when COVID hit and we had to shut down. And we had to pivot, of course, and establish our online academy, thanks to our military families who took their new assignments as far as England and Germany and Singapore. We became global because they took us with them. And from there, we continue our online lessons. 58% of our student population are online. And we have, again, students in England, Germany, Singapore. We have students on the West Coast, far western states, as all the way as south as Florida, and all the way as north as Washington, D.C. So we're excited about how our business model has evolved, and all because of pivoting. And it has been a great roller coaster ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. And I appreciate you for sharing that. And that's amazing that over at Montgomery Arts Academy, exposing the kids to learning musical instruments. And like you were talking about earlier, just in terms of as you were growing up, you had a lot of exposure. And it's great that you're now paying it forward and giving kids exposure to to music and just the
Right.
fact that you've been able to remain in business in 2006. You got a chance to pivot during the pandemic. We all know 2020, that was a very interesting time to say the least. So, and definitely don't want to make light of it because of what happened and lives were lost and people were affected forever. But I just want to commend you for being able to pivot with the academy and continue, yes, ma'am, and to leverage the internet. I mean, because that's one thing, can be
Oh,
technology can be, it can be addictive and it can be counterproductive. However, it can be your friend as well. It's all how you use it.
most definitely, it's my friend.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So you got a chance to go global with the military, going to
Yes.
Singapore and all that good stuff. That's amazing. Just hearing about the academy and just the expansion. That's powerful stuff, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. All God.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Never dreamed that it would be that way. Never
Hey,
dreamed.
our plans and our plans they're nothing compared to God's plans. Like we have our plans and God looks at those plans and laugh at those plans.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. So I I see in 2008 you started the Passionpreneur Club, and
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So 2008, started the Passionpreneur Club. The friends or the coworkers of mine, well, and friends, they were at work, and they said, "Hey, Gray, you always leaving work and headed over to go teach at your academy." And I said, "Yes." And so they didn't know that I was developing an exit strategy from the 9 to 5 job. And so I began to share my exit strategy, or I shared my exit strategy with them, and preparing them to exit their 9 to 5 and to start their own. So it was intimate conversations in a safe place. with other aspiring entrepreneurs that are women. Some were single moms, some were married, and believe it or not, their married relationship, I should say, they didn't have the support, the full support from their spouses. Let me say it like that. And so that's what the Passionpreneur Club was about. And yeah, and it's still going and expanding. We're going to be doing some big things this summer and declare the Passionpreneur Day here in Montgomery come this July. We're excited about that. And we're going to be celebrating all of the passionpreneurs in and around the Montgomery area.
That is amazing, and hats off to you for creating that safe space for women to come in and talk about, have those conversations, and have that support system, that safe space, and that's really what all of us need, Dr. Gray. We just need a safe space to go. I mean, as it relates to whatever area we want to get better in, whether it's business or if you
Right.
want to get better in, it could be therapy or it can be a group like you created with the Passionpreneur Club. But that's great that you created that safe haven for women,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. That's amazing. So the name Passionpreneur. Oh, go ahead. My apologies. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to also iterate that the Passionpreneur Club is a mentoring program for women entrepreneurs. And so this is where I do all of the training for them and get them business ready and business savvy. A lot of times, business owners or aspiring business owners, they just know what they want, but they don't know what steps to take to start and their business. And so that's what this is all about here.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Just giving them streamlining the process and helping them get over those hurdles. Like I think that's great because a lot of times, Dr. Gray, people won't move forward in life or won't move forward on an idea because they don't know how or they're afraid to even step out there.
Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
amazing that you've created this club and like I said, just streamlining that process. So that's powerful stuff. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So the Passionpreneur name itself, like I was telling you offline, is very catchy. It kind of just rolls off the tongue. It's smooth. It's like passionpreneur. It's like passion fruit, but it's passionpreneur. So how did you
Yeah.
come up? How did you come up with that name, Dr. Gray?
Well, I just reviewed, who I am. So you got to know who you are. That's the first thing in coaching and counseling. You ask yourself, who are you? What do you do? And so I just sat down and I reviewed what all I do, who I am. I'm a teacher, and I always have multiple jobs. I would help my aunt when I was in high school, 14 years old. She allowed me to work in the hair salon with her. And so I love being her assistant with hair and beauty and all that good stuff. So I love that. I love music. I teach in graphic design. I create websites and things of that nature. So I just said, okay, everything I'm passionate for, I'm going to turn it into profits. And so
Hmm.
a better way to say, become a passionpreneur.
Okay, that's amazing. Very organic way how you came up with the name. And I like what you said, that very first part about knowing yourself.
Yes.
Self-awareness, know thyself. That's amazing that you
Right.
do know yourself and you created a name that fits you. That's what it's about.
Mhm. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And for your last but not least, DSG Business Consulting, what you got going on over there?
Well, that's I don't know if I could say this a step above. It's more for corporate organizations, nonprofit organizations. This is where I apply all that I've just talked about, the coaching, being an executive coach, organizational development practitioner, being able to go into an organization and to be the change leader, do leadership training, leadership development, business development, helping them to strategize to get their business to the next level, help them to identify what are some of the issues and provide a prescription for them to move forward, whether it's with their personnel, whether it's with scaling up, whatever the situation is. I'm that type of person. to come in and help their organization to move forward. And like I said, there's a plan that I'll present to them and walk them through it and hold their hand and be that executive coach to scale their organization to the next level. So
That's
that's
amazing.
what the
Oh,
business is all about. Yeah.
okay. And that's amazing. That's great. And I thank you for sharing that. And it just sounds like with DS
DSG.
consulting, yeah, yes, ma'am. Business consulting sounds like you're going in and helping reshape culture and helping these businesses
Yes. Mhm.
thrive instead of survive. That's amazing.
That's right. You're right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also
It's
read
been a
your,
pleasure.
oh, my apologies.
It's been a pleasure working. You'll be amazed how well you have your MBA, but it doesn't matter how small of a business you are or how big the corporation is. You have the same problems. And to be honest, I was coached by an executive coach some years ago. Matter of fact, my first business coach, that's what she did. She went in with corporate America like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo and went in and be their executive coach. And she trained me and she coached me on how to even get Montgomery Arts Academy thriving in its early years, especially during the Great Recession that we experienced in 2008 and having to recover from that. And it's just learning that science and sticking with the plan, knowing the trends that is what's trending by the consumer, and how to keep your business relevant. Most the many music academies are not able to survive because, of course, our parents and grandparents, they are looking at it as extra curriculum. But I learned to not sell, I'm using this as an example. I learned not to sell my services as music lessons. I had learned the secret is learn to be a partner with the parents to help strengthen their household through their children. And so once I began to use that type of language, that, hey, I am partnering with you as a parent, and through music to help your household to be a happy place. Hey, they come to, it's a family thing. You're teaching the parents how to parent through music. And so you have to be very innovative and creative in business to stay relevant, especially in my industry. And so of course that can be applied to other industries as well. So that's what I focus on. There are so many competitors out there in various industries. And how do you make your business relevant and stand out more effectively than the others? Yeah.
That's amazing hearing you talk about that because it just goes back to what you were just saying in terms of knowing yourself. It goes back to that self-awareness, right? So for you to be able to identify, just to change that language to partnering with parents, what that does is it reassures the parents that they're more than just a transaction, that you're there to
Yeah.
serve them. And
Yes.
who wouldn't want to go and be a partner with someone who's there to serve them versus feeling like a transaction? So that's great and that's powerful that you were able to differentiate yourself from the competition by making that shift. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And you being an executive coach and being an executive director on the John Maxwell team, you're certified professional speaker, leadership trainer, life and executive coach. Also, you're certified with the DISC assessment. I took the DISC assessment some years
Mhm.
ago, and
Yeah.
I first heard about it through Dr. Eric Thomas. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Dr. Eric.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
love me some Eric.
Okay, cool, cool. ET. So yeah, I heard
How
him talk.
bad do you want it?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So I first heard him
Bad
talk.
as I can breathe. I need to breathe.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the DISC assessment. So that's definitely a great test in terms of identifying personality traits, strengths, and weaknesses. So yeah, that's great, Dr. Gray. Like you're really going into these organizations and it just sounds like you're helping them get to the next level from the C-level executives all the way down to regular personnel, which is powerful.
Right, you're right. For example, I had to get a plumber to come do some work for me at one of the properties, and the way he was just talking to me, and he didn't recognize the way he was communicating with me. He was very aggressive, and he didn't mean any harm, but at that time I couldn't take it. I had a lot going on.
Right.
And on top of him, speaking to me aggressively, in a good way, but he was just trying to get the task done and help me with a busted pipe that I was experiencing. And so I just said, hey, let's just take a step back and let's communicate like this. And so he admitted, he said, you know what? I get this all the time. I said, oh, okay. I said I wasn't offended or anything, but it will help me in this situation at this time as I'm learning, your plumbing language and figuring out what needs to be done, because I'm dumb to the fact of what all you got to do. And help me by taking a different approach. And so he did, and he was like, well, no one ever told me to do it like that. I'll apply that, when I talk to my other clients. And I said, well, good. I'm gonna need you to come back. And I don't need you to be so at me, and
Right.
assuming that I know what all he needed to do or whatever, with his materials and things of that nature. So I just know the end result is when I turn on the water, I don't need to hear running water from underneath the house. Okay.
Right.
So I digressed on that because that educational piece there, being certified, it really helps not just in business or with me being an executive coach, but it helps in every type of relationship that I have, with people in general, whether it's family or an intimate relationship and so forth. Yeah, you got to know who you are. You got to know my personality. I have to know my personality and understand yours. So effective communication is very important. And it's very important when you want to grow a business and develop relationships.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You just hit the nail on the head. I agree wholeheartedly. So take us back to your very first client that you were able to book through DSG Business Consulting. I mean, no need to
Mhm.
name the client. Just take us back to that experience and just how was it for you getting your very first paid client?
Oh, wow. It was a wonderful experience. I was able to, like I said, apply all of my prior knowledge and skill set, and providing a nurturing process and a comforting process for the client, um, because your client must trust you and you must have the deets, the data, and everything to support. So, when they say, hey, you've done this, and they look at your success and then they look at what you have done for others, you know, they feel comfortable and they trust you. One thing about DSG Business Consulting is like a lawyer or is like a doctor, everything is confidential, and when you're talking about finances, and this goes back to the Passionpreneur Club when I'm coaching one-on-one and mentoring one-on-one to women entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, that's the first thing, where you want to get to, what kind of money you want to make, where are you now? We got to know where you are now to get to where you want to be. And so a lot of those things are, an accountant, a CPA, you're going to learn a CPA. I hear a lot of my CPA friends, they always say that they learn a lot from their clients, and, they got to have that confidentiality with their clients. And so that's basically, with DSG Business Consulting, you have to make sure that you provide a safe space with your clients, and to be able to make them feel that you are very trustworthy and that you're going to take them to the next level. They got to believe in you. One person said, "Your name is not Diana for any reason. You're definitely a goddess." I said, "Oh my God." That was a compliment. But yeah, it was a great experience. When I compared the Passionpreneur Club and the one-on-one mentoring, it's the same concept. It's just on a different scale, a different level, but same concept is applied.
That's amazing. And that's powerful stuff. And that first experience, first client you booked, sounds like you had a great experience and client got what they wanted out the deal. And that's what it's all about, making sure the customer gets what they want.
Yeah, and I want those contracts to be paid for.
Absolutely. Hey, let's call it what it is. Hey, people, hey, everybody want what they want. And when things are done right, everybody gets what they want at the end of the day. So all
Exactly.
about. Yes, ma'am. So, Dr. Gray, you have a lot of great things going on. You have the academy, the music academy, passionpreneur. You have the DSG business consultant. So, with all that going on, and you're pouring into your clients, your employees, students,
Mhm.
what do you do to decompress?
Um, it's funny that you said that because of referring back to my first coach. She said, "It seems like you don't do anything that's fun." And so I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "What is fun to you?" I said, "I don't know. Look, like everything that I do is academic related. If I read something, it's something, at that time I was still in school taking classes. I'm always reading articles or whatever, peer reviews." So she said, "I don't want to hear that." I said, "Okay, what's fun to me is watching television." So I tend to binge watch, but definitely get a spa day in. Definitely got to work on your relaxation, your mental health. Unwind, just tap out. Especially with all these devices that we have. I'm always toting around a couple of cell phones, an iPad, Apple Watch. Something is always ringing with notifications or whatever. So I try to tap out of that and just spend time with my girlfriends, mainly my line sisters, with my beloved sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Be able to take maybe a day trip somewhere. I'm not a big shopper, but I just like to go, and if I'm in a big city and see a couple of shops or whatever, do that. So that's how I unwind.
Hmm. Hey, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, that's great that you have identified those different ways to decompress, watching TV, shopping, hanging out with your line sisters. Like that's amazing. I mean, and you definitely deserve it with all the stuff you have on your plate. I mean, golly, you got it going on, Dr. Gray. That's amazing that you juggling all of these different, you wearing all these different hats. Got three thriving companies rocking and rolling, and that's amazing stuff. So I know we just talked about the decompressing side of it. So just in the terms of what does a day to day look like in the life of a full time entrepreneur? What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, I'm going to be honest, with my schedule, is literally working around the clock. I start really early. Today is a Tuesday, and my day started at 6 in the morning, meeting my students online. But I did have some breaks in between. I get a morning nap, to kind of rejuvenate. But yeah, a typical day is literally working around the clock, particularly Mondays through Wednesdays are my longest days. Thursdays and Fridays are more flexible, is my schedule. I take clients as scheduled, particularly for DSG business consulting. Thursdays is typically a doctor's appointment day. Um, and then Thursdays and Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays are typically travel days. So yeah, I have a lot of flexibility, but usually Sundays I'm at church. No matter what I'm doing, I'm going to fulfill my church duties as a minister of music. And back in the grind with Montgomery Arts Academy. Monday through Wednesdays are my strong days of working. And then DSG gets my full attention closer to the weekend, but working between there and, of course, the Passionpreneur. So, yeah, there's not a set schedule. I just do know that I get up early,
Hmm.
early and have late nights. So, and I try to get in a good workout. If I don't make it to the gym on my breaks during the day, I just make sure I just walk my street, take a brisk walk outside. And I definitely take advantage of my preschool classes. So I get to be a kid and jump around and dance and all that good stuff. So that's how I get my exercise in as well.
Hmm. And I definitely appreciate you for sharing that. And that sounds like a realistic dating life for a full-time entrepreneur. And the reason why I wanted to ask you, Dr. Gray, is only because, of course, you look at social media and people make this full-time entrepreneur lifestyle appear as if, hey, everything is just glitz and glamour. You wake up in the morning and everything is so in order. But what you just broke down is just, hey, you have a lot to fit into a 24-hour time frame. It just
Oh
sounds
my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now the great thing about having a 9 to 5 job, you develop a discipline.
Mhm.
And and of course, as a teacher, I always had to do lesson plans, a classroom teacher do lesson plans and emergency lesson plans and things of that nature. Usually on Sundays, I would do my meal prepping and selecting the attire for majority of the week. And so I still do that on Sundays because I will be just totally crazy if I didn't have any type of order. So yeah, I review my calendar and my schedule, make sure everything's on the calendar, set my reminders no later than a Sunday, have the alarms to be set, scheduled and so forth. So yeah. But juggling all of this, I had to get an assistant. And it was okay. I felt good about getting one because I'm getting older now and I can't remember everything. And so my assistant helps me with reminders and so forth. And so I'm working on a couple of other people to join the team. Developing a team is so important as an entrepreneur. And we get caught up wanting to do things ourselves, and we feel more comfortable when I can just knock this out the way, or, this other person may not can do it like I can do it, or they may not can deliver as if I deliver, but I'm learning how to train, to teach, and learn from others. And I'm discovering that certain members of my team can do things better than I do. So let it go. What helps, it helps. Just don't mess with my money with my clients, you know. So yeah, that all goes in with it. Team development is so important. Now, finally, I know I'm going back into the interview when it comes to business development, but finding talent is can be challenging. But I learned that when you are intentional with where you surround yourself and what environments that you're in, and being around individuals, the talent searching for talent for your business and developing your team is not so bad after all. So I'm grateful for that, being intentional in the places where I go, the people who I meet and who I talk to and so forth. So far it's been pretty good.
Hmm. That's amazing. I appreciate you for sharing that and just hearing you talk about that teamwork aspect and being willing to delegate tasks so
Yeah.
you can free up your mind to focus on the bigger picture. And I mean, not to say calendar invites aren't major, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not. So hats off to you for hiring an assistant to help you keep up with things while you keep your eyes on the prize, the bigger picture, and continue to move the companies forward. So much respect to you for being willing to delegate because, like you said, most of us, I'm guilty of it. We want to touch everything. We want our hands in every pot. We want to be able to see every step of the process, but when do you have time to really creatively think and strategize and move forward? If you got your hand, if you're worried about emails and stuff, you know?
Yes. Oh, I'm the emails. Let's not talk about that.
I already know. Trust me. I know how that goes. I mean, I still work a 9 to 5, and that's all that goes on all day. Like you were saying earlier, something is always buzzing. So my email
Yes.
is always going off every 2 or 3 minutes. It's a meeting here, a meeting there. It's somebody.
Right. Right. And I mean, I had to get multiple email accounts to kind of categorize, with this organization, that email, my civic organizations, that goes to that email. Okay, I can keep up with that. My sorority emails, that goes to that sorority email address and so forth. So it's a lot to keep up with.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's great. So you've done great things as a full-time entrepreneur, and I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision.
Mhm.
What are some of your short-term and long-term goals in this entrepreneurial space you feel comfortable sharing?
Well, definitely short-term goal is to always get more clients, reach my clientele goal and my financial goal of how much I want to net and gross and all that good stuff. Long term, to be honest, I would like to establish for Montgomery Arts Academy, I would like to establish or procure and gain a place for performing arts center here in Montgomery that is privately owned and not having to always depend on different venues or even other organizations to have a recital, for example. Another thing is to establish an incubator for the creatives here in Montgomery. One of the things that I research about all the time, and it was a part of my doctorate studies and dissertation, is the fact that as creatives in general, we are not taught the business development piece when we are being educated in our undergraduate studies or even in high school, how to be in business for yourself, how to make money other than to go get a job or to gig all the time, for musicians, for example, or artists. So that's something that I'm working on now, is to establish an incubator just for creative. So I'm excited about that.
That's amazing. Those are some great goals, short-term and long-term, and I have no doubt you'll make them all come to fruition.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. As we wrap up the podcast, Dr. Gray, I want to ask the $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery, whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work. You being a hometown hero, Dr. Gray, what makes you the most proud to be from Montgomery?
I am most proud to be in Montgomery because Montgomery is a place of history makers and history movers and shakers. I was born in 1980, and I have seen it grow tremendously, especially in our culture of African Americans, and being a part of various cultures here in the city. It's amazing to see how we can all come together in this short 40 years of my life, and really bring the arts, particularly, and through music, on how we can all come together as united human beings. And so, yeah, I really love Montgomery because it is a place of opportunities, and it's definitely a place where you can dream and grow. So, what better way to have your own business here and to take your community to the next level?
Yes, ma'am. That's powerful stuff, and thank you for sharing that. So, Dr. Gray, how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
Oh yes, you can connect with me at Diana S. Gray. That's my social media handles: Instagram, Facebook, um, and then directly my website is dianasgray.com. Reach out to me, and you can email me at diana@dianasgray.com. And that website there will connect you to all of my other businesses, and you can connect to me and with me through Montgomery Arts Academy, through the PassionPreneur Club, and DSG Business Consulting.
Yes, ma'am. And of course, I'll put all of that information in the description of the episode. Hey, Dr. Gray, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.